presentation.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball at Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon and happy December, everybody. Welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com for your end of the season ride. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app, JBandGoldwaterShow.com as well. And you can chime in like Blair and Adam and others are already doing. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open, ShareHealthcare.com. I know that money is tight this time of the year with Christmas, the season here. Maybe you're looking for ways to save. It could be with your healthcare, ShareHealthcare.com. Coming up today on our program, it's a full hour and maybe more with the Big Spur's JC Sherbert. It's the first time we've spoken to him since Friday. Obviously, since Friday, Carolina lost to Clemson. The coaching carousel has been spinning at the most rapid pace we've ever seen. And the Gamecocks are moving in on some prospects with signing day approaching. We've got bowl selections coming up, the college football playoff to talk about. So JC's full of information today. We're looking forward to getting him in here in the next half hour or so, and he's welcome to stay as long as he so pleases. Make sure that you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. We will get to the playoff, the top four from last night, Darren. There is hoop stuff to get to. Major League Baseball could be locked out tonight, and we're going to talk about that. There are some major deals happening in Major League Baseball as well. I'm talking about contracts with players who might not get paid if they're locked out. But nonetheless, there are contracts, and they are in place. And so are we here on a beautiful Wednesday. What's up, man?
It's kind of like a rush to actually get a lot of these guys under contract before the lockout happens so that eventually they will get paid. Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom is not a comforting feeling for any Nationals fan who expects Max Scherzer to go into the Hall of Fame as a National, because he'll definitely be in the Hall of Fame. And that's kind of been expected. Now it's like, well, man, if you have a good career in New York, then what's going to happen there? So that doesn't please me. But the amount of college basketball that's out there, that pleases me. So it was a fun night last night, and now it's full-on college hoops for a couple of months now for me.
Yeah. Duke fell last night to Ohio State, the ACC Big Ten Challenge. After beating number one Gonzaga, they moved to number one, and then they get their first loss of the season in the Coach K going away party, if you'd like to call it that. I'm not sure that Ohio State fans cared too much last night that they were supposed to be honoring Coach K. They honored him by beating them. But there is plenty of hoops to discuss. Matter of fact, with hoops tonight, you've got last night, I should say, you had the College of Charleston downtown defeating Tulane. Remember, they're gonna go to Tulane next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So it's a home and home in the same season. It's kind of rare to see that in non-conference matchups, but nonetheless, 81-77 the final last night. Next up Friday at Furman. Going to be a toughie for the Cougars going up there to see Bob Ritchie and the Paladins. Clemson fell to Rutgers as part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge, 74-64. They'll get back on the floor Saturday in Coral Gables against the Miami Hurricanes. That's a noon tip. And then tonight in the state of South Carolina, the Gamecocks are in Conway to take on Coastal Carolina. Derek Scott will have that one at 7 o'clock on the Learfield IMG Gamecock Sports Radio Network, and that you can watch it on ESPN Plus. I saw Derek this past Friday night in Columbia, spent some time with him, and he really likes this basketball team. So that's a good sign coming from the guy that calls it. And if you think, well, it's the guy that calls it, he's not going to say anything bad. Well, you don't know Derek Scott that well. Derek Scott will tell you quickly whether he believes in something or someone or not. And he believes in South Carolina's hoops. So we'll see what happens there.
There's a lot to like. There's been some inconsistency too. I mean, it's been up and down so far. I mean, wins, but it's been up and down. And this is it's a good little road test for him here early in the year. Jeff McCarriger and Nate Ross have the call on ESPN Plus. They do all the Coastal Carolina stuff. So our boy for Carolina One Realty, Jeff McCarriger, who brings you buy or sell every Friday, he will be the play-by-play guy on TV.
All right, Jeff and Nasty Nate.
That's right.
Any Nathan or Nate that I know, I call them Nasty Nate. That's nothing personal there. So that'll be good. If you're watching it, then you'll have two good voices on the call. They're excellent. So that'll be wonderful. And the Citadel's at UNC Asheville tonight at 6:30 as well. By the way, Darren, happy Hanukkah to you.
Yes, thank you. I've even got, I mean, it's a Wicked Weed brewery thing, but it's Hanukkah colors. It's blue and white.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like Hanukkah without a brewery.
I mean, Jews like to drink beer, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, appreciate it. I think tonight will be night 4. Grayson, our daughter, is all about it. She gets both sides of it, best of both worlds. So she's all about it. So it's fun.
Yeah, she even gets the Adam Sandler song,
sung
by her dad after he was drinking wicked weed, whatever.
The Nashville, it's very good. I'd recommend.
Well, I've been there. I was on a bachelor party, and I don't, I'm not a beer drinker. But that's where everybody was going. But if I recall correctly, the Wicked Weed Brewery actually has a bar.
Oh yeah,
and so I was okay. I was concerned, oh, this is gonna suck. I'll just be the DD for everybody because I don't really drink beer, especially any of this stuff. I don't know what it is, but I was not the DD because I discovered that there's an actual bar in there with bourbon. So it sucked for them.
Cool spot.
Yeah, no, certainly. Pretty neat place. Some of the latest news in coaching, if you haven't heard, Joe Moorhead, former Penn State OC, former Mississippi State head coach, and now most recently out of Oregon, is now in Akron, Ohio. He's the new head coach of the Zips. Kind of a strange move. Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, okay. So
kind of, Oregon hasn't been overly impressive offensively this year, and the move to me says maybe they're not thrilled with him at Oregon, and he's kind of going before the going gets him. He's had a stop in Akron, but it seems like he has a higher value than the head coach of Akron, so it's a surprising move.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a little strange, but he wants to be a head coach, and that's probably a place that a guy like Joe Moorhead could get him into the bowl season every year and be a hero, if that's what he wants to do. Congratulations to him. One of the things that we didn't get to yesterday is the move by Virginia Tech, and I really wanted to get your input here because I know that Brent Pry is an excellent defensive coordinator. I do know that. And I do know that he is extremely highly thought of as a human being. People like this guy, and they have for a long time. And Virginia Tech is in the business of hiring likable people. Frank Beamer, Justin Fuente is a very likable guy. But, in the midst of what's going on out there, Darren, I mean, look, okay, it's pretty simple. Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, those are the splashes. We'll see what comes next for Notre Dame and Oklahoma. If those hires remotely close to come remotely close to what we've seen the Trojans and the Tigers pull off here. And then, you got the Billy Napier story to Florida. That's a big name out there. And of course that's a big job as well. Rhett Lashley is a notable name in football taking the job at SMU. Sonny Dykes moving to TCU. He landed in a helicopter yesterday in the middle of the ballpark. This is turning into a circus. But then kind of under the radar is this Brent Pry hire. He's not a huge name in college football. He's a big name, but he's not a huge name. It does not come with the glitz and glamour that all this other stuff has come. And here's Virginia Tech kind of sneaking in the back door with what they feel like is a smart way forward for their football program. So as I kind of rambled there, but I wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know much about him. He's most recently been the Penn State defensive coordinator, and I wanted to give you some time here to break this thing down for us. And what type of hire is this?
So I guess to start with that, I think it's a hell of a hire. Brent Pry, I don't know him personally. One of my friends does know him personally, and one of his good buddies does as well. And they've been singing his praises as a human for a long, long time. So you can put that on one side. On another side, there have been lots of staff changes at Penn State. There have not been any staff changes at defensive coordinator. He's been with James Franklin going back to their Vanderbilt days. He's got a GA stop at Virginia Tech long before that. He is the most consistent thing to James Franklin, and that Penn State has had in the James Franklin era. He is, and anyone that's watched Penn State the last couple of years, even when, last year was an aberration. They were hideously bad. But this year, years past, it's consistently a top 20 defense. That unit is not just performing on the field. They are also sending guys to the next level. See, Micah Parsons is the most recent example of that. He's a heck of a coach. He's a heck of a recruiter. I didn't realize had the ties to Virginia Tech that he did. I didn't realize he was a GA until this came out. And I didn't realize how much love he has for the area until I heard he and then the comment James Franklin put out there. So I think it's a great move for Brent Pry. I think it's a great move for Virginia Tech. And like I said to John Laser, who's the radio guy there, with Mike Young at their basketball coach and Brent Pry as their football coach, I might need to get some Hokies gear here to pull for him a little bit.
All right. So, again, it's not a move the needle hire, Darren, but when you look at the Coastal Division, so I guess here's my question. Like what road is Virginia Tech going down with what surrounds them? Pittsburgh, I don't know if Pittsburgh will sustain their offensive success, but they certainly have kind of built themselves into a program that scores points clearly this year. Miami is a team that is, Darren, take this lightly, right? But they're supposedly built around scoring points. Now they hadn't been scoring a lot of points, but they're built around that. And it is Miami. And at some point in time, you'd like to think, okay, well, they're going to pop through, right? North Carolina is over there. Georgia Tech's got Jeff Collins. It's that side of the ACC, in addition to the rest of the ACC, has a lot of offense in it. But Virginia Tech went with a defensive guy, and I guess I'm not baffled by the decision. I'm just interested as to what their thinking is and how capable he is of hiring the right man to run a successful offense.
He's been in the game long enough that and is the type of guy that what you're saying if you're Virginia Tech is, listen, I believe that you're going to come in here and build this thing. This isn't you better get this fixed and into playoff contention in year 2, but it's also a school that isn't going to go throw around the dollars that Miami, that LSU, that Notre Dame, right? Like, so they're not tossing those dollars. So they have to be a little bit more creative in their thought process. Like I said, I think it's a home run. If you also want to talk about the fan base itself, when you think Virginia Tech, you don't necessarily think flashy offense. When you go back to the Frank Beamer heyday, you think special teams, you think defense that's going to knock your teeth out. You think guys flying all over at breakneck speed defensively specifically. That's what I think. So if you're Virginia Tech as an old school guy, my guess is you love this hire. I think it harkens back to that. And I think you're saying, look, this guy can build a foundation. He's never been a head coach, but he's been a veteran and one of the best assistants in college football for a long time. Penn State's defense has been consistently one of the best units in college football for a long time. So assuming he can go get the right guy to run the offense, I think he'll be able to recruit. He's proven that at Penn State. So the footprint isn't too different from there down to Blacksburg. And I think I love the move. I really do. I think it's great for Brent, and I think it's a great move for Virginia Tech. I mean, why go get flashy, who knows if it's going to work type guy in Jamie Chadwell as an example, or instead get a guy that is going to bring in a rock solid defense, and then let's see what he puts around him.
Yeah, I'm doing the math here. So 16 years as a defensive coordinator, Darren. Mm-hmm. He's got an interesting background, and we're not going to spin our wheels too much with all of this, but he does have an interesting background. He has been at Virginia Tech before as a grad assistant back in 95 to 97.
And I guess that's where his love for the area, that's what I didn't realize, that A, that he had been there, or B, that there was an actual, feeling for him about Blacksburg. I mean, he really likes the place prior to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just likes the mountains because he left there and went to Western Carolina, and he was a catamount for a while. I've been to Western a couple of times. But he also spent time at Georgia Southern, and then as you pointed out from there, Vanderbilt, Penn State, and now Virginia Tech. I do want to kind of lump some of our Share Healthcare chat lines comments, because we've got a lot of them, into this conversation. And I'm going to start with Keith's first. Everybody knows Keith, the Cockfather, Keith Alsep, who joins us on Tuesdays around here. He said, Tony Elliott and Jamie Chadwell must be really bad interviews. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not true, Keith. I have no idea. But it does bring up an interesting point. If you're going to ask that why question, like, why have neither one of those guys landed gigs yet? There's a lot of gigs out there. And, Tony Elliott, maybe I could understand that a little bit more, simply because he's an OC and some programs are hesitant to hire coordinators. Some guys want sitting head coaches, period, the end. Virginia Tech is not one of those programs, obviously. So in this case, they're both coordinators. So I don't know that answer. Jamie Chadwell is interesting. Jamie Chadwell has been a hot name, at least in our neck of the woods, for now basically 2 seasons, right, Darren? And I haven't heard a sniff of him getting anywhere remotely close to any of these, getting hired for any of these jobs. Don't know that to be true or not true. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but generally you get some type of feel somewhere, especially in this state. We know enough people will get a whiff of something, and I've got nothing.
It's weird with Chadwell. Like, I wouldn't go the route of Keith there at all, because if Tony Elliott wanted some of these jobs, like Tennessee last year, it would have been his job. He decided that's not what he wanted. Jamie Chadwell, I don't know how much in the mix he was here, but some of these other jobs were too big for Jamie Chadwell. I've been very consistent with that for 2 years, that's not a guy that I would absolutely go and bring in for a Power 5 program that you want to resurrect right now. I don't have that trust at the moment in what Chadwell would bring to that team. That's why I referenced Chadwell and saying that I think Pry is the better choice for Virginia Tech than Jamie Chadwell. At least something that you're going to get with Brent Pry. With Jamie Chadwell, is what he's doing, will that translate on a consistent basis in a better conference when it hasn't translated on a very consistent basis where he is? I mean, he's had 2 really good years, and this year's good, right? But that's it. So yeah. Is it going to really translate at that level? I know he's won everywhere he's been, but at the level you want to be at consistently, I don't know. I would feel more comfortable in knowing I'm going to put a defense on the field and a guy who can recruit and has proven that he can recruit. I'm more comfortable with Brent Pry. I think it's a much better hire than Jamie Chadwell would have been.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to ask the question, too, is Chadwell in the same camp that Billy Napier was for a while? I mean, Billy Napier, although there are reports out there still that he turned down South Carolina and he turned down Auburn. Hard to turn down a job that you were not offered. So that's not really true. But Billy Napier did have his eyes on certain jobs. And I think he was, from what I understand to be true, was willing to wait it out because he was in a good situation to go where he truly, truly, truly wanted to go. I think if, I'm not saying that there would have never been a world that he wouldn't have been the head coach at Auburn or South Carolina or something like that. It just appears that, Billy Napier had his eyes set on other things, and he was in a position to be able to wait that out, and he did it. And maybe Jamie Chadwell is in the same type boat. Maybe he's got his eyes on a couple of other things that he's really, truly interested in, and you'll go from there. I mean, with what's left out there as far as Jamie goes, Darren, I mean, he's not going to Troy. That's a less than lateral move.
I wouldn't think Duke, because while the team here's the big thing for me with Duke. Coastal Carolina and Duke are not recruiting the same academic standard, right?
No.
So I don't love that. And his name's been more closely tied with a lot of these jobs. I kind of like the Napier Florida fit. I wouldn't have liked it as much at LSU, but Chadwell's name got tossed in for Virginia Tech briefly because he's around, from the area. He's got ties there, but his name really hasn't been that closely tied with much.
No. And I think Duke is a job. This is just my personal opinion. Duke is a job that you're either going to get somebody who was just like David Cutcliffe, who can kind of get you up into the conversation every couple of years. You're having some fun with him. You're generally winning more games than you're losing, or this is probably the route that they're more than interested in taking. Coordinator route. Somebody who's looking to prove themselves. You can go to Duke and get them into a bowl game, and you've proven your worth. That's just it. It's bottom line. So, then you start getting floated for other jobs, and then you move on up. I mean, Duke is not necessarily a destination job unless you're David Cutcliffe, which was basically his final destination. So, I don't think that's anything that Jamie Chadwell should be entertaining. He's probably got his sights set on something else. And
OC, though, Sapikoff brought it up. I think someone in the chat room may have brought it up here as well. I think Craig.
I saw it. Craig. Yeah.
About going to Carolina to be the OC. Carolina, somewhere else. Sapikoff brought it up. If for Chadwell to kind of put his image in a spot of, hey, I'm ready for that Power 5 job. The idea of leaving Coastal to be an offensive coordinator somewhere is very appealing for me if I were to be Jamie Chadwell.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that. I don't see it. I'm just trying to think about it from a head coaching perspective, all that he has achieved as a head coach for so long. I don't see that at all. I respectfully disagree with you and Craig and Gene. Yeah. I think once you're a head coach, you're a head coach, and you don't want to go work for anybody else unless you get the $13 million buyout to go sit on the sidelines as an analyst and be promoted back onto the field somewhere. I don't see it for him, but you never know. I mean, this is I don't think that anything we say matters because, as we've been proven over the last 3 days, nobody knows anything.
No,
when it comes to college football right now, this is unbelievable. Back to the Share Healthcare chat lines. Blair asks, by the way, Blair, thank you very much for your comment earlier, your compliment of our program. You can thank Darren for making this show good, not me. He asked Spencer Rattler coming to South Carolina. What are the odds? I'd put them at less than, at this point in time, less than 0. Less than 0, if there is such a thing. I'd say less than 0. South Carolina's got to figure themselves out, and I don't think a Heisman Trophy candidate, as he once was, is too interested in playing for the 116th ranked offense in the country, regardless of what the most optimistic person in this fan base at South Carolina thinks. Well, he could come and improve it. Yeah, not that much. You're going to need some other changes before that happens, but that's a good question. David chimes in. Again, the Share Healthcare chat lines here. Did you hear about the Oklahoma team meeting? Riley walked in, choked up, started to talk about family, and DeMarco Murray stepped up and said, cut the blank. You made your choice. I did not hear that. Darren, I think that and I know we're about 2 minutes or 3 minutes from getting out of here so that we can get JC in right on time today. There's a lot to get to. Look, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with how Brian Kelly or Lincoln Riley have handled their departures and the speed in which they've happened, the process which has come with that, and the comments of which they have or have not made to their teams. But what I am saying here, I think there's a little bit of a bigger deal being made to some of this, and here's why. Because I'm not exactly sure what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk in, and JC can probably chime in on this. Darren, you've had an agent before. All these coaches have agents. They're in your ear telling you how to handle certain situations, and sometimes, as hard as it is, from what I've understood, the best thing you can do is cut bait, move on. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things said about you, but you cut bait and you move on. I don't know that you can sit around and hug 100, 200 people in that room. I just don't know that you can do it. I don't know what else you can say outside of go get them. What do you think? I mean, what's he supposed to do? I'm not saying I agree with what they did or how they handled it, but I don't really know what else to do. What would you do? I don't know.
Well, look, you can't disagree with how they handled it because it is the way of the world. It's how this stuff works. Brian Kelly was on with Dan Patrick today. I mean, to just put it into perspective, he coaches at Stanford on Saturday. He's recruiting in Southern California. And when he's on the plane, recruiting for Notre Dame in Southern California. And as he's on the plane back, that's when the deal to LSU was finalized. Certain things, especially when you're talking about this much money and when there are so many different people around and rumors can get out and people can, find their way in pretty quickly and derail some of your plans. That's how this stuff happens. The reason some of this stuff can happen pretty quickly like this is to cut off a lot of that. And are players going to be upset? Yeah, because they're younger. They don't understand. You've got that bond that you've built together. But this is also a business, and this is also the way of life. And yeah, if I'm one of those players, I'm upset. But hopefully 24 hours later, I can sit back and say, that is kind of the way this goes. And okay, like that's just the way it is. So anyone who's really getting angry at either one of them, I can't jump on board with that at all.
Yeah, and I like, David here again, and I like this. I mean, David, I think you're right. I enjoy my time here with all of you, but somebody made me an offer I can't refuse.
Bingo.
Yeah, okay. And again, though, because I don't disagree with that. I think David's right. You say things like that. Again, though, you're still going to get some backlash out there because it only took you 30 seconds to say that. People want this big to do. They want to see the 5-10 minute crying, going away party video. And generally when these conversations are being had and these statements are being made by these coaches, Darren, they're already being paid by the next school. Mm-hmm. And it's time to move on. It's just time to go. And guess what? In today's world, these players, they have every opportunity to stand up and say, all right, well, I'm leaving too. And a lot of them are doing that now. I think that goes to show you, to bring this conversation back home a little bit, what type of a job Shane Beamer did at South Carolina by keeping almost everybody when changes were made up there, and also what type of a job Ray Tanner did in continuing to communicate with the football program and say, hey, just give these guys a chance to talk to you before you decide what your next move is going to be. So it's not always going to work out like that. It's just kind of where we are in sports. Xavier, and then this is our final comment we'll get to here, and we got to get to a break. Xavier, good to see you, Xavier. Hope you're doing well. What would those players or fans do if they were offered $110 million with incentives? And you're spot on there, pal. I mean, that's a very similar comment to what Darren and I talked about earlier this week. Hey, we might not like that coaches are making $100 million and things like that, but the market says you're worth what you're worth. And if somebody says you're worth $100 million, you're going to take it. Uh-huh. And sometimes you don't care how many feelings you hurt to get there. You take the money and you move on. And that's America. It's just the way it goes. So. That's the world.
Yeah, you're true to yourself, man. That's it. It
is what it is. All right, 12:29 on a Wednesday afternoon. A reminder, head to jbandgoldwatershow.com to submit your name or your wife's name or somebody that you know that you want to give a $100 gift card to, or a round of golf, or a big-time gift basket. If you head to jbandgoldwatershow.com, 12 days of giveaways start on Monday. Go ahead and start entering your name. We'll draw a name a day for 12 straight days leading up to Christmas, starting on Monday. jbandgoldwatershow.com. If you're anywhere near the Low Country or coming to it, these are some pretty neat options there. You just click which one you're interested in, submit your name. You'll be in the running, and hopefully you will be a winner this holiday season. Time for a timeout. JC Sherbert, owner of the BigSpur.com, up next.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy.
I got honeybee beating on my screen door. I got a little buzz in my head. So cause we come from a long line of sinners like me.
And you were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter in the jukebox and sing me back home.
All right, 12:34 Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. All right, JC will be in just a second. But I got, all right, 32 years ago today.
Okay.
The greatest Christmas movie of all time debuted, which is Christmas Vacation, just if anybody was wondering. Okay. I saw, hold on, Darren, this is going to be pretty bad radio for a minute, but just give me a second. I saw yesterday the Barstool Sports top 10 Christmas movies rankings. Was it Barstool Sports? Barstool Athletics?
Not sure. Didn't see I mean, normally I scroll over these Christmas lists because they become like 10
Oh,
million of them a day.
Yeah, everybody does them. Barst, come on, man. Oh, this is gonna. I can't believe I didn't pull this up before I hopped on the air here to talk about it. Sorry, this is pretty bad, but it's in here somewhere, and I'm gonna find it. And it was they certainly had some things that were in there, correct? But they had Home Alone 3 also in the top 10.
3?
Dude, that's like the worst. That's the worst Christmas movie ever. I mean, Home Alone 3 they should ban it. After they had Home Alone and Home Alone 2, here it is. All right, everybody ready? Hold on to your nipples. That's what they say in what's the movie? The football movie. Tweeter said it when he stole the cop car. You know what I'm talking about. Top 10 Christmas movies of all time, as we wait on JC to pop in here in just a second. All right. Top 10 Christmas movies ever. Okay. They've got it. Number 1, It's a Wonderful Life. I could get behind that. It's such a classic, dude.
It's my wife's favorite. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen it. She's watched it multiple times a year, every year.
Sure. Yeah, I watch it every year. It's a beautiful movie. It's an old movie. Varsity Blues.
Yes,
Thank you, Bobby.
That's it.
It's a great movie. I adore it. I would watch it every time. I'm such a classic when it comes to Christmas anyways. I watch all I videotape all the stuff and rewatch it. The Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer special and Frosty the Snowman. I'm literally like 5 years old. I can't wait to watch this stuff with my kids. Okay, so It's a Wonderful Life. At 2, they have Home Alone. Okay, you know what? Okay. I mean, I love Home Alone. Home Alone's in my top 3 as well. No doubt. I'll give you that. At 3, I like this movie, but it ain't 3. Fred Claus? Come on, man. You got Fred Claus at 3 over Christmas Vacation? Who did this? Have they even watched Fred Claus?
A 20-year-old intern is who did this.
It doesn't compare. And then they've got Elf at 5. Which Elf, I like Elf. I wouldn't have it at 5, but I like it. It's funny.
Is it a classic? Like, does it belong on a list?
Dude, I would have it I would personally have it in my top 10, but I'd have it near the bottom because here's who it's above Home Alone 3 at 6. And I wouldn't have Home Alone 3 near the top 100. And then, but Home Alone, this is the biggest, you know what, the top 5, I don't agree with it, but whatever. There is no chance that Home Alone 3 at 6, there is no chance, Darren, that it is better than 7, 8, 9, 10 in this order. A Christmas Story, Miracle on 34th Street, Home Alone 2, or Bad Santa. Not even close. It's mic drop, move on.
I mean,
Home Alone 3
anywhere.
I wouldn't watch Home Alone 3 like ever. I mean, if someone did a list of the top 10 worst Christmas movies, I wouldn't even put it on that. I would say, no, it's actually in a category of its own as the literal worst movie ever. So,
I haven't even seen all the movies on that list, which probably does not surprise anybody.
Yeah, and yes, we are kind of stalling for time a little bit here just to make sure that JC's good, but I would have Christmas Vacation at 1. I'd have It's a Wonderful Life at 2. I'd have Home Alone at 3. I'd have probably Home Alone 2 at 4. The original Miracle on 34th Street at 5. A Christmas Story at 6. And then from there, I'm not sure, but that'd be my 6. JC, he is coming here soon. He just sent me a message just so everybody knows everything's all good. But there's a lot going on in the world of Gamecock athletics these days, and he's having to deal with all that in addition to popping on here.
Can't imagine what could possibly be going on covering Gamecock sports.
Yeah,
ever.
No,
nothing's ever happening.
No, not a whole lot. Back to the Share Healthcare chat lines here. Will, Elf is top 10, but towards the back. I agree with you. I totally agree with that. Clint says I can't stand Will Ferrell. I like Will Ferrell. He's done some kind of strange and goofy things, but But overall, I like Will Ferrell.
Mhm.
I think he's pretty funny. That movie, that Daddy's Home movie, I thought he was pretty good. And that with Mark Wahlberg, they make a pretty good team. So there you go. Couple Christmas notes. And just so you all know, yeah, we will talk some more Christmas and things of that nature as we lead into the holiday. Quick reminder on that, by the way, Darren and I will say Merry Christmas to all of you on December the 21st. We will be off December 22nd through we'll be back on the air January 3rd. So Darren and I are going to get out of here for the holiday, just as many of you will also be doing. And we might have to pop in for a bowl special for South Carolina somewhere as part of our big Gamecock preview show contracts with our clients. But that's all that you'll really hear from us for a little while. So David, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. So I people argue about this every year. I don't even think it's an argument.
I hear the argument every single year. I don't care, so I don't get involved in the argument. But it came out around Christmas, and people talk about it around Christmas every single year. So fine.
Yeah, I don't think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It's a great movie. It's not a Christmas movie though. Jamie says Christmas Story is in the top 3. I respect that totally. Totally respect that. Keith says Fred Claus is definitely a top 5. Yeah. It would be right outside my top 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. No, Keith. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. So I hope you're just going to get this over with here. All right. Again, JC coming up here in just a minute. Quickly on some bowl game scenarios for South Carolina. I tell you what I'm hearing, and I'll see what JC is hearing here in just a few minutes. Been hearing a lot of Birmingham, no doubt about that. But I did speak with a source yesterday, Darren, that has basically said keep an eye on what they do in Memphis with the Liberty Bowl. I think that they are intrigued by welcoming the Gamecocks back to town if they can get that done. So we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But those are the two I've heard the most. And I know that Charlotte has been mentioned a bunch. I think the word on Charlotte, from what I understood, was if Carolina was able to pull an upset over Clemson, Darren, they'd have no problem sending South Carolina up to Charlotte. There'd be a lot of momentum behind the Gamecocks, and nobody would really give a crap what's happened the last couple of times they played there anymore. But they didn't beat Clemson. Didn't even come close. They lost 30-0, and probably not. That balloon has popped. I don't think that that's going to be the case, but the league office will make that decision at some point in time here in the next few days. All right, JC Sherbert joining us. He's not busy at all. There's really nothing going on. As we recap the season, we'll look at some recruiting. We will talk about some of the bowl game stuff. We have not gotten to the playoff stuff. We're going to talk to JC about that as well and get the latest on staff movement. But I hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend outside of the loss for the Gamecocks, JC. And how's your work week going?
Oh, it's been a fascinating week in my world. Thank God. So I don't sit there and dwell on that loss on Saturday. And, this is an unprecedented time. This week is always busy. There's always a lot of information, rumors flying, personnel, assistant. Usually it's been limited to assistant coaches, some head coaching changes, new staffs, and some recruiting tidbits. But now with the portal and with 2 bombshell hires, one caged animal syndrome hire at Southern Cal, and these big jobs open and people going here, there, and yonder, bowl selection coming up, you still got recruiting, you still got assistant coaches moving. I mean, it's been something else. And quite frankly, I've enjoyed it.
All right, so what's the latest? Gamecock staff is mostly out on the road. JC, what are you hearing as far as movement or no movement?
Well, I don't know. I tend to believe, like I've believed for a while, that they must have a change on offense, offensive coordinator. I know that I felt like it was sort of heading that way. Some others maybe thought, gosh, around Sunday night, Monday, maybe it's not happening. Got a call Monday night. think it is. I don't think anything's changed. I think some people internally kind of were thrown off by the fact that the whole staff's on the road, and I think some people are having selective memory that there's been a lot of coaches that haven't been retained that are on the road this week in recruiting. Yeah. At Florida, you have a whole staff that's probably not going to be there out on the road recruiting, interim staffs and whatnot. And that's just kind of it. You go do your job until you don't do your job anymore. So I'm not worried about that. I don't have a good beat on a potential timeline, and I would not bet my life that it would happen, but I feel the same way I did. I think there's going to be a change at offensive coordinator at the University of South Carolina. So, and there needs to be. I just looking at it, the total body of work, and look, they have a good offense. They have a great play caller. I don't know if Saturday goes any different. They were overwhelmed, and I think everybody missed the fact that Clemson still had an elite defense, and they got healthy by the time they played South Carolina number one. And then number two, Tony Elliott, you got to credit him and the offensive line for them, and they got better on offense too. And when it comes to their offense versus Carolina's defense, yes, Carolina's got some issues at linebacker, but I was disappointed with the toughness that South Carolina's defense played, especially against the run, the inability to get guys on the ground, that kind of thing. And to me, that was maybe the most frustrating part of that game is like, you're just kind of getting out toughed, and it doesn't take talent to play tough. And that was that. Like I said, I don't know that it would have been different. I'm looking at the whole body of work, things that don't make sense. I've been informed in the last 48 hours about multiple personnel use issues that, things we've talked about on this show that, I think we thought were issues as far as, well, it's maybe better if you use this guy here or this guy there, that were worse than I anticipated, just in terms of my opinion on it. And so I think Shane Beamer has enough good going for him. I think the reception on the trail's been good, even with the loss. I think talking about him like SEC Coach of the Year, the publicity he's been getting, the fact he was mentioned for the Oklahoma job, which, I don't know which way that's going to go right now, but the fact he was even their media and their people at their school, it's a top 10 program, saying we would have hired him if he'd stayed here. I think he's got some momentum. I think there's an opportunity with the portal, the transfer portal. I think there's an opportunity with some of these changes to really do some things that maybe you couldn't do right now in a normal year coming off of 6-6 or 7-6. So, but I think the improvement year over year and being able to maximize that does depend largely on how you fix the offense and if the offense get fixed. And so that's the latest thing on the staff. I think some people were worried about Justin Stepp maybe being part of Billy Napier's staff at Florida. I was told Saturday that's not going to happen. I am almost positive, just because there's so many jobs open and these guys are good coaches, that, you'll probably hear about some schools asking about Torian Gray, Clayton White, Mike Peterson, guys like that. And I'll just tell you that South Carolina's prepared to, combat that a bit, Ray Tanner and those guys. Yeah. But that's not something that's even popped up on the radar right now. I wouldn't be surprised if something happened at one point or another here in the future. So that's the latest on the staff. They're out recruiting, doing some good things, and hopefully they'll continue to, and we'll have visits that start back up here soon, and then it'll be early signing day. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so let's paint a picture here, JC, because generally before a couple years ago, when you had this early signing period come into play, and now it's turned into a wild, wacky college football as we know it. But what we used to see, JC, was, and you've covered recruiting for over 20 years, so you know these type of stories inside and out. Coaches at the end of the season would retain many of their staff members through signing day. Back then, it was as late as February, middle of February, early February to get kids signed and on campus, and then some things would start changing. You'd see coaches leaving for other opportunity and things of that nature. Now, in this sped up world that we live in, we're seeing a lot of this a lot sooner, and I think that that's changed the thinking of a lot of fans and fan bases, and the fact that when you see so much change happening around you and you know that change is necessary in your program, you expect it to be immediate. So what I'm trying to do here is I don't know what is in Shane Beamer's head. I don't know what he's planning to do. I'm like you. I've got some sources. I hear things. I don't know how much of that's true and how it's going to unfold, but I do think it's appropriate for us to be able to help kind of paint a picture of the situation that he's in, the fact that he's got to get players, and from the personnel side, JC, but also from the coaching side. Maybe he doesn't know who's going to replace Marcus Satterfield. Maybe there's going to be other shuffling or restructuring of the staff, and he doesn't know exactly how he's planning on doing that yet. And if he hires somebody, who they plan to bring with him and what that's going to mean for somebody else currently in place. There's a lot that could be going on. So I don't know that Carolina fans should necessarily be in panic mode just yet because change has not been made.
Well, there's two terrible takes floating around out there. The first one is, well, they got to keep Marcus Satterfield because he makes $900,000 a year, and they'd owe him. He was a 2-year deal, so they'd owe him the money. That's a terrible take. That's not going to stop South Carolina from, or any SEC program from making a coordinator change if the head coach wants to make it. And, we chatted with our sources last week, and I think you guys know they're pretty good when it comes to athletics department news. And there's going to be that's a complete nothing burger. And so that's terrible. The next thing is this notion that, that Shane Beamer needed to go immediately do it to settle down the fans. And I'm like, listen, what's going to settle down the fans is not letting Saturday happen again. Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, you can go. I do think they need to go hire a new coordinator and make a change and fix the offense from a coaching standpoint. But I'll tell you this, Saturday's going to happen again if you don't get out and get players, okay, and get out and bust your bahunkus in recruiting because, there's some players out there, that you need to go give attention to right away. There's some quote-unquote low-hanging fruit. You look at the tight end room, guys, Nick Muse is gone. I think we can all agree Jaheim Bell's not a tight end, not a true tight end. Needs to be playing receiver. Probably should have been playing receiver all year. Probably would have had a better season on offense had he been playing receiver all year. But, we know went into that. So you take him away. People ask about Kevion Mullins. Kevion Mullins has a long way to go to get back in the conversation to play. Okay. So that leaves Trey Kenyon at tight end. There is a need there. Okay. So you got a guy from the portal that things are looking good for. Aaron Stogner. From Oklahoma, who was a top 200 recruit or whatever. So there's one. And then your other coaches are out on the road. Your tight ends coach out on the road trying to flip the number one tight end in the country, and then guys not named Oscar Delp. So that takes precedent, in my opinion, during this week. You can go, punt your OC all you want, and that may even drag you down because you don't have more – you don't even have that extra person to take on the road with you or whatever. You're all of a sudden immersed in a coaching search, a public one. Everybody's asking about that. And people that think, oh, it should have been done. And then they'll throw recruiting up. Well, no recruits are going to come to South Carolina with this guy on staff. And that's not true either. And I wish we hadn't mentioned this on our website, but we did. And the feedback we got was, the offense is not a system that's very attractive to elite talent. As far as it impacting guys that Carolina's really in on, how it was presented to me was it was much more eyebrow raising for 2023 kids who are just now forming their opinions of schools and programs and stuff like that, as opposed to a general blanket thing about 2022, which is what they're trying to kind of clean up. And so that's a false thing too. Now, do I think if a change isn't made, am I going to sit here and be like, oh no, everything's okay, like the dog and the meme with the burning coffee and all that? No. You guys know how I feel about this, but I just don't think that, any coach that's worth a crap is going to prioritize how fans feelings. Because what he's trying to do is, as far as fans' feelings go, is set it up to where they win more football games, which makes everybody feel better. And so I understand that you got to hit the ground running in terms of recruiting right now in this very critical week, especially with the early signing period coming up. Lots of people hitting the portal. You're gonna get some visits. You gotta talk about it. I mean, it is full blown recruiting season right now, at least for the short term. So, I don't blame Shane Beamer for what he's doing now. And I know everybody wants somebody's head on a pike, but that's just not how reality works. And some of these people that have revisionist history about these things, think back to I was at the Shrine Bowl in 2007 after that season, watching the Shrine Bowl. That was back when coaches were able to go and before the communists decided that coaches couldn't go anymore. And Tyrone Nix is sitting there in his Gamecock shirt, defensive coordinator at the time. And we had kind of been told, he was told, hey, maybe want to look around a little bit, Tyrone, but he's sitting there at the Shrine Bowl and we're all kind of just looking. And then he gets hired by Houston Nutt as the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss right then and there. Right. And sometimes that's how these things work. You think it's an action. It has to be a public action on the part of the current job, but I'll say this very cryptically. Sometimes it's an action on the part of the destination.
Yeah, we're going to continue this conversation coming up on the other side of the break here, but and we do have some good comments, Jamie and RB. I want to get to y'all's comments as well because those are good questions. They're fair questions. Jamie asked, don't kids want to know who they're going to play for? It's a great question, and I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. But Shane Beamer is from what I understand, an interesting situation. So we're going to hold off on some of that. We're going to answer these questions on the other side of the break. We are going to talk about what JC's hearing from a bowl game standpoint. We'll continue with recruiting. There are some big names floating around out there, and we'll dip back into the regular season a little bit here on this Wednesday afternoon. So hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit StonoFerryGolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Roberts, owner of Three Seeds Wellness Studios. And just like being in your favorite ballpark feels like home, our studio feels like home to our clients. We offer over 20 different services to help our guests cultivate, nourish, and grow their bodies and minds. Centrally located in the heart of West Ashley, we offer massages, facials, acupuncture, yoga classes, and everything in between, helping you become that you want to be. A complete list of services are available online, and gift cards are available both online and for curbside pickup. Go to threeseedswellnessstudios.com. Happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 103, final hour, Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back. And welcome to December, everybody. Christmas is just around the corner. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater, and at JC Sherbert. He's the owner of the Big Spur, and he's going to be with us here for as long as he so chooses. He's the man. You know, it's his world. We're just talking in it here in December. All right. So JC, let's get back to the Share Healthcare chat lines here. Got another great question here from Dylan. Dylan, hang tight. We'll get to that in just a minute. Folks, we're going to talk to JC about some of the big names in this state, maybe the two biggest names left in this state in recruiting, Antonio Williams and Jalen Sneed. Because South Carolina is in the mix for both, and if they can land them, that's going to be pretty good news for Carolina football. And there might be a little bit more to that conversation being had than one might think. All right, so Jamie and RB JC both ask similar questions here with some of these recruits, and these are in reference to the coaching staff and the uncertainty about the future of it. But Jamie asks, why would some of these kids wait? Recruiting asks again, but don't kids want to know who they play for? RB asks, what recruits are hoping that said coaches are retained? Wouldn't making a move be beneficial on the trail? JC, I'm gonna let you answer the question. The only comment I want to make here is I don't know that there's a win-win scenario for Shane Beamer. I mean, I don't think that he has two good options or even one good option to choose from right now whether you fire a guy unless you have already somebody in place to slip right in and take his job, and it doesn't maybe appear that way, or you retain a guy who there's a lot of scrutiny around, and rightfully so, and that kind of leaves questions up in the air. But maybe if you can get in front of all these kids as the head football coach, you can help to calm a lot of that down behind the scenes, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, not what I say. So that's just kind of my take on it, but I wanted to get your thoughts there on those questions and anything else that you might want to add pertaining to those.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways, you can handle this, but I can just tell you as someone that's covered recruiting for 15, 20 years, it's a nothing burger. It's one of those things where, the more likely thing, and you guys would be surprised because I've said this over and over. When I say you guys, I'm talking to the audience. Recruits are not fans. They don't look at it like fans. They don't evaluate it like fans. They're not feeling emotions like fans in terms of their decisions. It's just not going to happen. And the one thing that does, concern, I guess, parents and players and things like that is when there is uncertainty. And so you come out, you go and send your offensive coordinator to the guillotine on Sunday. Well, then who are you going to hire, right? Well, chances are you're going to hire somebody good. You want to, that's why you make a decision like that. You want to upgrade. Well, how many potential targets are, coaching still? A lot, hopefully none are in the NFL, in my opinion. But I'm done with that. But personally, but look, so you have to wait, because you don't want to. They're not going to want to upset their current job in recruiting. I also mentioned, it's everybody, Gamecock Nation, obviously, because they're fans. And if you're like me, I'm a fan too. I had to take 24 hours and not answer any text and chill after that game Saturday. And I know some people handle it the other way, and they're like, "Well, boy, it just make me feel good if they just fired somebody today, right?" And that happens sometimes, but that's only going to make fans feel better. And then they're going to sit there and bang the table for who the replacement is, and you're not going to be able to do that for a while. And then that creates this cloud of uncertainty, okay? And uncertainty is what kills recruiting classes. Uncertainty is what lowers comfort level. Uncertainty that now is magnified by this crazy thing we have called social media. That can really hurt you, in my opinion. And so I would just encourage fans to be patient. There may be like I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm putting no gun to my head guarantees here. There may be a time where it's time to freak out. I think there's about like a 1% chance of that. But I think if you just chill and quit trying to do things on your timeline and kind of understand the big picture, you'll end up being happy at the end of the day. And so, that would be what I was saying. But I'll tell you without a shadow of a doubt, and I will put a gun to my head on this. It is not the fact that somebody wasn't sacrificed on Sunday doesn't have any impact on Carolina's recruiting right now. It has no impact. And the overall impact of the offense is more of a big picture thing. And something that, like I said, it was explained to me, it is more of a 2023 thing than a 2022 thing. And I can guarantee you that the top offensive targets they have left for 2022 are pretty much well aware of everything that's going on, even if that may not be public.
So, JC, I spoke with a source in Columbia yesterday, and it's a good source. And that source told me after the Clemson game, Shane Beamer was, quote, very critical of the entire offensive staff after Saturday night's debacle. And he pointed out to that staff that they weren't any better after week 13 than after week 1. And this same source also pointed out that he appeared to be indicating he has to make some changes. But again, none of that is set in stone. All right. So again, what that tells me is, like Shane has done a lot, he's in the middle of a process of the process of shaping the future of the football program. But right now, the largest concern, I'm sure he's trying to do a lot of this at the same time, the largest concern is trying to get a bunch of good players in here the next couple of weeks, JC. They've been waiting to get out on the road, and they got to get out on the road. Brandon chimes in. I like the idea of having a behind-the-scenes replacement prior to a firing. Keeps the spotlight off the program and provides an immediate comfort level when announced. Any OC gap comes with risk, JC, and you mentioned that earlier. I mean, you remember last year when they seemingly couldn't get a couple of coaches hired in certain positions, and people felt embarrassed, like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. What's going on here? It was like, it reminded me of the Jamaican bobsled team who couldn't get in the bobsled the first time they went down the ice. But then after a while, they figured it out, and it kind of all came together. And so maybe that's kind of where Shane is at this point in time, in addressing concern by concern in the time in which they need to be addressed.
Now, now I'll say I can't guarantee you guys there's not going to be a gap. There's bowl game coming up and some other stuff.
Understood.
And like I said, sometimes when you're talking about changes, it's not necessarily what happens, on your current deal. It's kind of when things get finalized on your destination.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of Gamecock fans, because I've heard this too, Lord have mercy. And this fan base has been through a lot, and I understand. They bring up the Frank Martin thing, last year, and we all know what happened there. It was like, well, let's see if Frank gets another job, and then you save it. You save the hassle of firing a guy that took you to the Final Four, if that's what you want to do, and then it came no other job, and then they go to pull the trigger, and all of a sudden we saw the political issue get involved. You have to understand that that's a head coach that has had the most successful basketball season in the history of the program, and probably one of the few good things we've all felt good about the last 6 years, right? He is a good guy, regardless of what some people may think. He's a tremendous person. He's a great man. He's a better man than I think probably half of us, right? 75% I would go. And so, I didn't like the fact politics got involved in anything at South Carolina. I think they need to stay the heck away, excuse my language. But this is nothing like that, okay? Nothing, not even close. I gave an example of something like that. Tyrone Nix. Maybe Tyrone, maybe you should look around a little bit, buddy.
Well, yeah.
And unlike those changes, I don't think it's going to have to get to the AFCA coaches convention to happen. I mean, that, like I said, I haven't completely nailed down a timeline for changes, but I'd be surprised if this thing lingers on and on and on and on. Now it may, don't get me wrong, but I'd be surprised. So
I agree.
And Shane is absolutely right. Collectively, the coaching on the offensive side of the ball is the same way it was. And, I think we both know this, Jamie. It was not a democracy or a marketplace of ideas on the offensive side of the ball. So whose responsibility is that? Connect the dots here. So, that's the deal there and all that. And I feel very, very confident. Not only is the coach Shane Beamer and the coaches that are left, not only are they going to fix the coaching elements of it, and I think there's a big lesson to be learned again at this school, and It's a new coach learning it about what's on the chalkboard versus what you can actually do as a coach. They'll not only fix it coaching wise, I am confident based on what I've been hearing from a personnel standpoint, there could be some serious upgrades across the board because of opportunities in the portal, because of opportunities to flip guys in recruiting. And so Gamecock fans need to get excited about that because look, man, you can sit there and want, somebody to go with pitchforks and, the headless horseman, Winnie the Pooh, whatever the heck you want to do, and burn Sat's house down on Sunday, all you want. That's not going to help anything. What's going to help is better players, better coaching, and I guarantee you guys it is being addressed.
1:15 Wednesday afternoon. Shane looking for help in the Gamecock football program. You might need help in saving some cash. ihelpconsulting.com, owned by slow talker Daniel Owens. This has become an inside joke between he and I, and I'm going to continue to do that because he is a slow talker, much like our friend Keith Allsup. But that's not a bad thing. It's actually a damn good thing because that means they can trust you. Daniel Owens, a lot of people trust him, and I Help Consulting because they save a bunch of cash for a bunch of businesses here in the Palmetto State. 50 grand, 40 grand, 10 grand. Hey, even if you save $400 or $500 a month, that adds up to $6,000-$7,000 a year sometimes. So check it out. You don't have to pay them a fee. You don't have to say, well, here's $500. Look at my books. Oh, we didn't find anything. Have a nice day. No, that's not the way it works. If they find something, they charge you a percentage of the fees. That's how it works. All right. Which means you're not coming out of pocket for anything. You might have to initially from your savings, but you're not coming out of pocket. Daniel Owens, ihelpconsulting.com, ihelpconsulting.com. Ask yourself this question. How can I help you? All right, 1:16 here on a Wednesday afternoon. Let's get to the Share Healthcare chat lines here. Dylan, I like this question, JC. I'd put it at 50-50, but do you think most kids commit to the school or a coach?
Oh, I think it just kind of depends. I'd kind of put it more 70-30, and a lot of it, because your coach and your coaches, that impacts your comfort level. And I keep getting to that. People think, well, if you win this game and, we're going up against this team and we beat this team, then my God, we're going to go take all their recruits. That's not how it happens. I wish it happened that way. You could have like a big recruiting battle royale or something and, high stakes, whatever. That's not the way it works. It's comfort level. Now, people for a long time, because I talked about how important relationships are in recruiting, the haters, and there are many, said, well, gosh, look how good this, when Muschamp was there, look how good these relationships do for us because we didn't sign Travon Walker from Georgia. Well, I never said that relationships were what it was all about. You could go, hey, come here and let's play in my backyard and I'll give you book money we'll go play another. No, relationships are part of comfort level. Now, you can have best relationship in the world with a certain staff, and this has happened more times than I can count, but they're coaching somewhere that is 2-9. You don't know if they're going to get fired. They don't have good facilities. They're not a winning program. They play in front of 10,000 people. And then you've got, Georgia. And maybe you don't have a better relationship with that staff, but they want you to. And look, Sanford Stadium, all this. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. There are all kinds of things that impact comfort level. Parents impact comfort level. And so, I think coaches, because they're the ones that develop the relationships and they're the ones that have the plan that you develop that comfort level for. I think that's more about 70% of it. I really do. Now, does that mean that you're going to lose 70% of your class with a coaching change? No. But I think that is a much bigger factor than like the people in the NCAA, definitely. The communists I mentioned earlier, want to mention or admit. I think it's a much bigger factor than a lot of people would even care to say. Unless you're like in a situation where, you just love this staff and you're going to go to a clearly inferior program. In other words, like you're going and rocking to East Carolina because you love that staff, and it doesn't matter if Clemson offers you or North Carolina offers you or Georgia offers you, you're going to be an East Carolina Pirate because, there you go, and we love these guys, and stuff like that. And that only happens like 10% of the time, but, that could be one of those situations. But I clearly think that, people probably need to look into that a little bit more and admit to themselves that, coaching does mean an awful lot. And that was my point about East Carolina. A lot of times when a kid's making a decision, when you're talking about the programs, the winning, the facilities, the academics, a lot of these schools are the same. So what is really the differentiator? If you're picking between Alabama and Clemson, right? Let's not even include Clemson since it's such a unique rural campus. Let's go with Georgia. Same kind of campus, same kind of stadium, same similar colors. Athens and Tuscaloosa are about the same size. You could debate on which one's cooler. All right, so it's going to come down to Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart, which is splitting hairs when you're comparing. So, you're telling me you commit to Georgia and Kirby and his staff won out. Well, then they leave. But Nick Saban's still at Alabama. I mean, what's the differentiator right there? It's that Nick Saban, the guy you have a relationship there in Tuscaloosa, and there's a new person coming to Athens you don't know. And that's about the best way I could put it because those two campuses are sort of alike and all that in terms of town setting and stuff. So, so there you go. Yeah. So there's an example that definitely coaching matters to me more than program.
I give two quick examples, one on either side. Gunnar Stockton to Carry-On Joyner. There you go. Two different situations, two totally different outcomes there. We'll answer one more here, JC, then I want to ask you about some current players on South Carolina's radar. But this one from Clint. Why not offer Kendall Briles $2 million and see what he says? I don't know that we have proof that hasn't happened, but for the sake of the question, JC, why not?
Great. If you can offer Kendall Briles $2 million and he'll come to South Carolina and call ball plays and install that offense, I'd be happy as an analyst. I'd be happy as a recruiting guy because he's a hell of an evaluator and a recruiter. I'd be happy to stick it in the eye of the PC crowd that wants to, lump in whatever happened at Baylor on Kendall. I know some people that know him well. He's a good guy. And I think that'd be tremendous. Do I think that has a chance and a snowball's chance and where of happening? No, I think that he's probably about a year away from being a head coach somewhere. And in my opinion, it'll probably be in Texas. And Arkansas is closer to Texas. So, and I think they've got a good thing going. And so, do it, please. And I like Phil Longo from North Carolina a lot. And I think that, for the right money, Carolina could get into that thing. You look at the North Texas coach, I think Seth Luttrell. I don't know if he's gotten fired yet or not. He's probably going to want to get out ahead of the posse. He's a guy that not a lot of people talk about because, North Texas has kind of gone like this, but he was an OC at North Carolina under Larry Fedora the year they played Clemson in 2015 in the ACC championship game, and it's tremendous. And if you watch North Texas beat Arkansas by 27 when Chad Morris was there, you see he calls a pretty good game and head coaching experience, all that same coaching tree, like the Air Raid-esque Texas high school coaching tree. So anybody like that, I think, would be good. A good fit at Carolina. Obviously, you're going to have to get more players no matter what you run. And people say that all the time. Well, don't have players, doesn't matter what you run. Well, what you want to make sure of is when you get the players, you're not still out there getting under center against that front you saw Saturday night down with a quarterback that's never played under center before, and it's like the third time in 5 games you've done it and screwed everything up. That is just one small example of the ridiculousness of it's almost like the Muppet Show, guys. It's almost like that those episodes where it's the Muppets, but they're different. You have different guest hosts, everything like that. You can't be the Muppet Show when you're talking about college football offenses. You can do it in the NFL because you got rehearsal time all week. But this is more like, weekly skits, short skits, things like that because of the time limitation for college kids.
125 here on this Wednesday afternoon, the JB and Goldwater Show with JC Sherbert, owner of the BigSpur.com. I'll add to that, JC, if there's a change made at OC, it's going to be the 4th OC in 4 years at South Carolina. Shane Beamer's got to find somebody who could be here a little while because changing OCs every year, that does not get it done. Brian McClendon to Mike Bobo to Marcus Satterfield to whoever. You got to find some consistency leading the offense. All right, on offense, moving forward could be a wide receiver named Antonio Williams out of Dutch Fork High School. He has long been considering the Gamecocks. JC, we're going to get to Jalen Sneed here in just a moment, but quickly, is there a latest? And if so, what is it on the South Carolina wide receiver target?
I think South Carolina is still in it. And look, I'm going to explain something. If South Carolina does not get Antonio Williams, because people are going to, if there's no change made, if he commits next week, they're going to, see, should have pulled the trigger. No, I'm just going to go tell you now, get that lie out of your head. It's not true. It'll have everything to do with him getting an offer from Clemson, which is a school he's dreamed of going to for several years. Now, sometimes you have what I call the stronger, longer theory when it comes to recruiting, and that affects comfort level, right? In Carolina, from the day these new guys walked in the door, they've made him a huge priority. He's probably been, along with Oscar Delp, since the start, the number one offensive recruit on the board, during the cycle. So, I don't know. I know some Clemson people feel pretty good. I know our guy, Hill McGranahan at the Big Spur, feels like South Carolina's still right there. I don't get a vibe that Ole Miss is getting him. I don't get a vibe that Auburn's getting him. Those are their other two schools. So, it's an in-state recruiting battle. And the kid had Clemson offered a year ago, would be committed to Clemson right now. So you just kind of figure out like how strong was that? How long did you hold on to that? And he'll make a decision. But I'll say this right now: I don't ever sit there and go, well, the loss of one guy really, really hurts in recruiting. I mentioned Trevon Walker earlier. You'd have thought the world would have ended when Carolina lost him to Georgia. He's a Georgia kid, whatever. But great to have him. But in-state guys, and I'll say this, and then I'll get to the next one because that's a different animal. Situation-wise, in-state guys close to your campus, positions of need, top 200 prospects, at some point you have to land those guys if you're going to be successful at South Carolina. Maybe not this year with the 2-time national champs up the road and all that good stuff. Kids that are recruits now, probably they've seen all this the last few years, right? And so I don't blame them. And Clemson's track record at receiver speaks for itself. And quite frankly, from a talent standpoint, I look at Clemson's receivers this year, and I know they got some guys hurt early that were these types of guys. They need him. Shoot, they should have offered him a long time ago. So that could be a loss, could be a win, could be a loss. If it's a loss, though, it's not the end of the world, other than to say you don't want that to continue to happen. Okay, now Sneed, as we all know, the Hilton Head High School head coach will do anything or say anything to get his kids not to go to South Carolina. And really, Clemson hasn't really been involved with any of these players either. If you remember Poona Ford Family wanted him at South Carolina. He commits to Louisville, because Charlie Strong, that relationship. Well, Charlie Strong leaves Louisville and, goes to all the way to Texas, halfway across the country, and shipped him out there. Hey, he's got to go to Tech, and no matter what is said there, I knew what was going on behind the scenes, and so some people really are fooling nobody. And then today, I just want to. This is laughable, and I want to just throw this out at you. And look, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want. That's fine. I think that, folks that operate this way in high school recruiting in certain states wouldn't have a job if they acted this way, especially like places like Alabama and Georgia that are big time football. Now, if it happened in St. Simon's Island, which would be the same thing as it's kind of where you're at. So anyway, so listen to this, right?
Hey,
they interviewed Phil Cornblood had an interview with Snead's high school coach. Now Snead's been visiting pretty consistently, even when it hasn't been public, right?
Hey, hold on just a second. Let me just make sure everybody understands the situation here before you explain it. Hilton Head High School linebacker Jalen Snead has been committed to Notre Dame, I believe, since July.
Yeah,
July. There are some that believe that he's a serious candidate to flip and play at South Carolina. And quickly, JC, in the 24/7 rankings, where is this young man?
Yeah, he moved up to 5-star, probably I think number 1 outside linebacker in the country.
Okay,
per 24/7 composite. So here we go. So we go through, and keep in mind there's a track record at this school of kids going, elsewhere, and not even in Carolina a chance. And it was kind of funny because, Clayton White, South Carolina's linebackers coach, D coordinator, and this staff, when they got there, they last year they made Snead a priority. The feedback we got through our contacts was they were doing really well. His sister goes to South Carolina. His mom went to South Carolina. They felt good. Then he releases a top 5. And South Carolina's not even in it. So, wow, not a big surprise, right? And so listen to this. And this is the kind of thing that doesn't add up about these types of situations. The quote is, I've known Clayton White for 15 years. He recruited one of my kids in Ohio when he was at Stanford. Blah, 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 blah. They've done an amazing – all right, so Clayton White and Shane Beamer have done an amazing job. They just got in so late. Okay, so keep in mind, committed to Notre Dame. South Carolina's previous staff offered Jalen Snead in July of 2020. Okay, Clayton White was hired January 9th of 2021, and within 24 hours made contact and began recruiting Snead heavily. I don't think Marcus Freeman was hired, I think, January 12th. Notre Dame didn't even offer until January 18th of 2021. Okay? So where is this tardiness that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Where is this tardiness?
Yeah, it's not
and it's stuff like that really kind of makes you go, huh? Because it doesn't match up with reality. It doesn't match up with what you're hearing behind the scenes. And all I'm saying is it causes a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what it sounds like, JC? It sounds like a guy who doesn't this guy, he was a wrestler, the Blob or something like that. And it sounds like this cat here knows that this young man is highly interested in going to South Carolina, and he's just trying to come up with other reasons to basically cover up a pretty poor effort on his part to steer him somewhere else.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, so,
this guy's not very respected either.
This happens, yeah, and this happens over and over and over again. And look, Jalen Snead's a heck of a kid, heck of a player. I'm going to say this. This is not – I'm not being disrespectful to Notre Dame. Notre Dame speaks for itself. Marcus Freeman, their defensive coordinator, who is going to go after that head coaching job, I don't think he's getting it. Nor do I think he is a guy that deserves to get a job like that right now. I think he's more likely to go Cincinnati, Duke, and start over. Heck of a coach, though. He speaks for himself. I don't blame Jalen Sneed one bit for wanting to go to South Bend and playing for Marcus Freeman. What I have an issue with is the propaganda. You know, people can say what they want. Nobody on the Big Spurs end or anybody else that knows anything about this, our end, is putting out any propaganda. We're putting out what we know to be the truth. And a lot of this is, just a little bit less than truthful. So, and this has happened through the years.
A lot.
And quite frankly, it's going to take some people that like really care. And quite frankly, the record, the win-loss record down there is not that good anyway. So they'd say, hey, enough's enough. And, well,
JC,
you can't do this.
He's done this to Clemson too. I mean, and Clemson, last I checked, I'm just making sure here, they're one of the premier programs in college football, right? But yet the Tigers haven't been good enough for some of these young men who down at Hilton Head. But by the way, Hilton Head might as well move, just cut itself off from South Carolina and move out into the Atlantic Ocean. It really has nothing to do with South Carolina anymore. Nobody there's from here. But he's done this, JC, as far as I understand, and I've understood this, I believe, for a few years now. This guy has done this to both the in-state schools here at South Carolina, the Gamecocks and the Tigers, right?
What's his motive, though? Like, what benefit to you, your school, to your players, does shutting out your two in-state power programs?
No, it's a great question. He's not from here. He's from Ohio. He's a former wrestler. He was JC. Where did he play football?
Clemson. I think he has some tie to Clemson.
I don't think he played there though.
I don't know. I don't know what.
He has zero.
I don't have anything personally against this guy. It's about business, and I will tell you in a heartbeat if I don't like the way you handle your business. I don't like the way he handles his business, and I'll tell that to any high school coach that acts in a similar manner. I don't think high school coaches have a mandate in our state or any state to send their kids to any college. Okay, they're players. I don't think there's a mandate there. I don't think there's a mandate to help. I don't think there's a mandate to shut out other schools. Hey, man, you're going to get 45 offers, right? Go get them. You want to go to Notre Dame, more power to you. You'd be the next Tony Rice, the next Jeff Burris, the next I would say Gary Gray, but that's kind of a similar situation. So, the next, whoever. Go play for the Irish, play like a champion today, go get yours, right? It's a great program, speaks for itself. I don't think they have a mandate. I do think, though, that employees of the state of South Carolina that coach football, and I'm not saying the lady at the DMV that gets paid by our taxpayer dollars needs to go and make sure if she has a football player relative or son or friend that, I just would like for you to look. No, you can tell your relatives, if you're wherever, if you're a teacher, whatever state employee, state trooper, tell them to go wherever you want. But when you're in football, and you're a football coach, I think that you do have a responsibility not to work against the in-state schools. And there are no other coaches. And there are coaches whose players end up going elsewhere over time. And it's kind of a trend. Kids go out of state from that school, same coach is there. But I've never once seen a coach that wasn't at least like, hey, you should at least look at it, check it out. You don't even have to visit if that's not what you want, whatever. I've never seen a situation where it's like, they act like they play FCS football in Columbia and wherever else, and that's you can tell that. I mean, it's obvious. I know that in professional wrestling, there's a script, and you probably think that you fool half of your audience, and maybe that's what the thought process is there. But I can assure you that those of us that are in the know see right through it. And I just hope that at the end of the day, wherever Jalen Sneed ends up, it's a decision that is made with Jalen Sneed and his family.
I agree.
And he does what is best, regardless of anybody else's opinion on the subject, for him as a student, as a human being, and as a player. And heck, if it's Notre Dame, then go Irish. But I would just hope that this is a decision that is made the right way. And if it is made the right way, I do think it's going to come down to Marcus Freeman, if he stays on in South Bend or not, because I do think there's a great relationship there. I think Marcus Freeman's done a great job there.
Yeah.
And so I do think that's the normal pathway, right? That's the normal thing. But, Charlie Strong and Poona Ford, he was set on Louisville. And then he goes all the way to Texas, Oh, well, now he's going to Texas. So, I don't know about that.
And that didn't work out for Poona. He didn't play a whole lot down there. But I'm with you.
He's in the NFL now.
Yeah, but he what did he do at Texas? Literally nothing. He worked his way into the NFL, but he went through a lot to get there. I don't, wherever this young man goes, go wherever you want to go. I don't care. I don't like coaches lying publicly like that, though. It's on the information is public about what he said. That's not true. And that's crap. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's documented. The timeline of getting in on him is documented. The timeline of the various schools offering is documented. And when you sit there and you say they got in on him late, compared to where he's committed to, it paints a picture, because high school coaches are supposed to be credible and tell the truth, and 98% of them do. It paints a picture that there's just a bunch of, like your average fan that doesn't listen to us. It just reads, Phil's really good articles, and that's how they keep up with their recruiting. They're going to start raising hell, because they're going to be like, well, our staff's incompetent and lazy. They don't get on guys. And that's been such a tired narrative around the state of South Carolina for years and years and years that, they don't recruit us or whatever. So I take exception to things like that, because it's just not the truth. And you're lying about good people that trying to do a good job and support their families. And that propaganda you sneak out there is going to cause people that are supposed to support them to think otherwise.
Gamecocks Mount Union, by the way. That Ed put that in the chat room. That is
Mount Union.
That is correct. Yes.
I knew it was somewhere.
Power.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Mount
it's irrelevant, but it's just
didn't Matt Campbell play at Mount or coach at Mount Union?
Maybe they know each other. Maybe they wrestled against each other.
Oh my God! Well, see, so there's the end. Freeman will leave, but Campbell will get that job in South Bend, and oh gosh, the Mount Union thing. It's
well,
you wait, shoot, it'll happen.
Tigers have the 10th ranked class in the country right now. Gamecocks have the 21st ranked class in the country, and looking to close strong. JC, final couple of questions. The last one's going to be on the bowl, but this one, final one with Jalen Sneed. Look, I'm gonna prop this question up with the latest information that I've received, which is nowhere near probably what you and your staff have learned. But what I've heard in recent days is that there's more than a real chance that Jalen Sneed is in Columbia, South Carolina, playing football next year. How much truth is there to that?
As long as you look at it like from the reality end of things, and not the WWF. Or, wait a minute, what's the real cheap? What's the one that they record like in
ACW?
Like in a warehouse in Packlet, South Carolina, and it's on like at 11:30 at night back in the day? You guys ever been to Packlet, South Carolina, up in Spartanburg County?
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah, buddy.
Not ACW, right?
That's right there towards Union and Cowpens.
ACW.
Yeah, that looks like it's shot on a VHS.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So I'm not even gonna. I like professional wrestling in its purest form. Woo!
I don't.
But but I'm just gonna compare it to that. So if you don't pay attention to the late night leotard fake wrestling, the Mickey Rourke movie kind of thing that from the
Hey,
rest of the daggone.
What Marissa Tomei was in that movie. Don't be hating on that movie now. Marissa Tomei was in there. It's one of my girls.
I love Marissa Tomei too.
Yeah, come on.
With all of my heart.
It's Marissa Tomei, man.
She is.
You were just softened up immensely with one comment.
Well, Mike Morgan always says this about coaching search.
Everybody loves Marissa Tomei.
You won't name a supermodel or whoever. He's like, but what you're getting is Marissa Tomei. And he's always like, no, there's nothing wrong with Marissa Tomei. And I'm like, hell no, there's not. You know,
No.
I've seen what is it? What was that? My Cousin Vinny. Well, my goodness, Brandon from Broome, Satirians, Packlet, Cowpens, District 3.
There you go.
Anyway, so yeah, if it's not the cheap wrestling version of events, the fake, which hey, it's fake, folks. Then I'm right there with you. I've heard the exact same thing. But reading that. You know, I expected to read those quotes from, if it wasn't from Phil, it'd have been from somebody else. I expected to hear that rebuttal to the momentum South Carolina's had. And look, man, we'll see if it ends up just like Puna Ford or if kind of like at some other high schools around the state that, there's a different way to do things and the staff can kind of change it. I know that, again, just like with Antonio Williams, if they lose Jalen Sneed or they don't get Jalen Sneed, there's nothing else they could have done. And like I said, again, eventually, maybe never at Hilton Head. My grandfather used to call Hilton Head the end of the earth. Because it is. If you go from Spartanburg down 95, it's the end of the earth. So maybe they'll give that to school to Georgia or something eventually. And I'm just kidding about that. But look, it's one of those things, maybe not Hilton Head, but my point is eventually the Antonio Williams and the Jalen Sneeds coming to South Carolina, that's going to be what really boosts the Gamecocks back, getting more and more and more of those guys. And heck, if they do it this year, they're ahead of schedule, in my opinion. But so it's not a everything's fine. It's just two players. I'm admitting, hey, look, this is not going to be positive if they don't get them, and they need to do that in the future. But there is a chance that both do come South Carolina's way.
We'll see. They are both early signees, JC. Are they planning to sign early, both of them?
I don't. Gosh, the latest update I read from Hale was maybe Antonio is supposed to make a commitment after his state championship game. So maybe he is signing early. I am not sure about Sneed, but I am sure that if things are unresolved, there's going to be some encouragement for him to go ahead and sign with blue and gold.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, and that would be one where if he does, hopefully his parents and his mom or his family and Jalen are in their heart wanting to go there. And heck, you wish him the best. It's a greater opportunity. So
yeah. By the way, just because we talked about both of those players, even though it's a lie, it's not true that the Gamecocks got in late here. Who cares? Clemson got in late on Antonio Williams, and all of a sudden he might end up a Tiger. I mean, don't give me that garbage. That's just a bunch of crap to continue to spin your narrative. But anyways, all right, JC, quickly here, final minute. What are you hearing for South Carolina's bowl destination? We should learn officially on Sunday afternoon.
You were talking about this earlier. I had insomnia last night. In case you guys can't tell, I'm dead tired. I got 1 hour of sleep and I've been doing radio and podcast all day. So I wrote a big bowl breakdown. My gut feeling after kind of crunching everything is the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah.
I know a lot of speculation out there, and the projections say the Mayonnaise Bowl in Charlotte. And what I was told was the people in Charlotte, and this was even, I heard you mention the Clemson game, even before the Clemson game, they were kind of skeptical because they've heard the fair or unfair, and some of it's unfair, the backlash against going to Charlotte. I especially think that a matchup with like a Virginia would be a non-starter. Nobody wants to play Virginia again at South Carolina. A North Carolina South Carolina matchup, I think, would be somewhat intriguing, and I think that Virginia Tech South Carolina certainly would be. But I think people are speculating based on geography, and that's the one bowl that I've got a connection to, and I hear it's a no-go. So then there's Birmingham. Now, nobody wants to go to Birmingham, although it is in a brand new stadium, right? Yeah. UAB's new stadium. But what would be completely unfair about that, besides the fact that the SEC insists on having a bowl in Birmingham, I love Birmingham as a city, but not for a bowl game in December. That's ridiculous. And they cling to this like a lump of coal. The last time an SEC team even had to go to Birmingham, it was 2016. It was South Carolina. So, I mean, man, you've got Auburn, you've got LSU, you've got Florida, you got Missouri all sitting there at 6-6 too. Somebody needs to raise Cain and say no. You send one of these teams there. I mean, when is the next time the Birmingham Bowl is going to get LSU or Auburn? Never.
That's a good point.
Next year, probably LSU.
Next year. So I think then you have the kind of mysterious Liberty Bowl projections from the ESPN guys. Another guy, and Liberty Bowl likes Carolina. They played there twice so far.
Gamecock fans will go to Memphis. They'll go to Memphis.
In 06, Steve Spurrier told one of his assistants in 06 that was one of the best bowls in terms of things to do for the kids and stuff that they went to at South Carolina.
And they all got PlayStations.
Played Art Briles and the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, well, yeah. Blake, just throw the ball. He'll catch it.
They don't play much defense.
Scored 44 points. Maybe that'd be a good omen for
I remember that game. But so if I had to guess, I would say that. Now I missed your first part. What other bowl were you talking about earlier?
None. Those are the ones that I believe.
You think Liberty.
I think Carolina's going to Liberty. JC, I think that we've hit this bowl. We have the same deal with bowl games that we do with selling season tickets in everybody's ballpark. TV's in charge of it now. It's about the matchups. They don't care necessarily. They do care about how many tickets they sell, but nothing like they used to.
No, it's the league office and i.e. TV. I mean, I'll never forget 2016 Carolina gets to 6-6. Tough first. Will Muschamp eked out that season. Jake Bentley takes over. I think Virginia Tech was something like 7-5, Virginia Tech played for the ACC title that year, and so they got the Charlotte Bowl deal. And I know the Charlotte Bowl wanted Carolina and Virginia Tech. I know Virginia Tech wanted Carolina and Virginia Tech. I know Carolina wanted Carolina and Virginia Tech. I mean, it was a done deal. All vested interest people wanted that matchup, and they went with Arkansas and Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Gator Bowl in 2018. A&M got shoved over there, and so you just never know. What I do think I would raise a little cane about if I were Ray Tanner and everybody else involved with South Carolina is if they do get shuffled to Birmingham yet again. And I wouldn't even mind the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa, but I'm pretty sure they're going to send Florida there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think number one, it's a bad idea to have a bowl in Birmingham with an SEC team in it, even though that's where your office is. And I don't think that's fair to any of the schools to have to play in it ever. And then number two, to make any program go there twice in a row when they're the only SEC team that seems to have to go as punishment. I don't think it's fair, especially when you have two programs out there that have interim head coaches. You've got a Missouri team that, yes, they beat Carolina and Florida, but they're still 6-6. You have Auburn that fell off the face of the earth that had to fire Mike Bobo, whatever, and they're right there. So if I wanted made for TV in Birmingham, well, I'll tell you what I'd do since it's on UAB's home field. And
Auburn,
politically it
UAB?
would never happen.
No.
I would have Auburn
and
play at UAB.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, hell no. Yeah, no.
No.
They don't even, Auburn and Alabama people don't even want UAB to have a football program.
No, that is not happening.
And Auburn, to their credit, did play in the Birmingham Bowl in 2015, but that's what made for TV. That's what I would do, and I think poor Brian Harsin, man. You go play at UAB, you lose that game because UAB could beat them, and you're like, so
they'll pull the unvaccinated card real quick on Brian Harsin. That bastard ain't vaccinated. Get him out of here.
The first South Carolina game I ever went to in my life was in Birmingham, Alabama, the 1979 Hall of Fame Bowl. They lost to Missouri.
Yeah.
We all remember what happened in the Papa John's Bowl in 2009. I mean, the mere fact that they ran out of Papa John's pizza at that game
in the first quarter,
never had to go back. And then they send them there again to play South Florida in 2016 when they could have sent them to Charlotte, and South Florida beat them. And I mean, Birmingham's a house of horrors for South Carolina. And you know, if you get the Gamecocks there to play UAB on their home field, UAB remembers that the Gamecocks caught COVID last year and it canceled UAB's bowl trip. So great. That'd be just super. You know, try to get all these SEC football players up to go play a road game at UAB when they're sitting there spitting nails because you ruined their season last year. And they have a chip on their shoulder anyway because they almost canceled their program, or did for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well,
let's hope for the Liberty Bowl, fellas.
Based on all that, let's go there.
I'm with you. I'm hoping for the Liberty Bowl. I bet Tennessee's hoping for the Liberty Bowl as well. So we'll kind of have to see how this thing plays out.
Memphis is driving distance for me too. So
yeah, I'd like to go to Memphis.
We'll have some drinks on. We'll do the show from Bill Street eating barbecue.
Dude, it's a fun place. I've been there. How far?
I'd love the Music City Bowl too because Carolina's never played in it, and they kind of screwed Carolina out of it a couple of times because they love Kentucky. And I looked at that, you know, because Tennessee may get sent to Florida or they may go to, you know, and so I wouldn't mind that one either, to be honest. But just because they never played in it, and Carolina fans, because the socialist mayor of Nashville didn't allow any fans at all in Vanderbilt games last year. It's been since 2018 since Carolina's been able to travel to Music City, so that's something to consider too.
I'd go to that one too. That's a quick, easy flight into Nashville, and it's an hour to get there, an hour to get home. So,
from Charlotte, they used to have that when I lived in Nashville. They had it to Greenville. Oh man, compared to 7.5 hours driving, 45 minutes to Charleston, 50 or an hour to Charleston, 45 to Greenville. From BNA, great airport too. And, they do sell beer in the airport now at the different stands too.
Craig says Nashville, no chance. I agree with you on premise. The only thing I will say is there are some of the heavy hitters in this league who are at the bottom of bowl season this year. Notably, of course, LSU, Auburn, and Florida, and they do have heavy pull in the league office as to where they want to end up, and the league oftentimes will accommodate that. So by virtue of weird, strange movement sometimes, that could create weird, strange movement for other teams like South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, and things like that. There's a lot of bottom feeders in bowl season out of the SEC at 6-6 and 7-5, and some of the big poll guys are gonna they're gonna say what they want to say. All right, JC, you got 10 seconds to answer this. Just answer it and go. It is National Pie Day. What is your favorite pie?
I like my mom's apple.
Oh.
I love
my mom's apple though, just my mom's. If it's not that, I like that. You guys ever been to like K&W cafeteria?
Oh yeah.
You know, you go through the line, you get to the end, they have that custard pie. That would be my second favorite. My grandmother used to take me there when I was a kid. I get my Salisbury steak and French fry, you know, the biscuit, and then you get the custard pie, and so I like that as well.
There you go.
By the way,
I need to quit eating it though.
The answer now, if you've never tried, and JC, you probably haven't, JB, you probably haven't either. The Snicker pie over at Dog and Duck, which one of the owner's wives, she makes cakes and pies and stuff, and that's what they are. the Snicker pie at Dog and Duck. That is what I want.
I don't know if there's a pie that I don't love. I don't even know if I have a favorite, but that sounds
hair.
fantastic.
I don't
By the way,
like hair pie.
it's Brown Bag Wednesday at the Dog and Duck for all of our locals. Go get your cheeseburger and a slice of pie. How about that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The brown bag has a cheeseburger in it, not a bottle of liquor, all you drunks. Even though it's the holiday season, it's a cheeseburger. JC, we've kept you for a long, long time. Go get your pie and your bourbon and your beer and this, that, and the other. It's hump day, man. It's hump day.
I'm probably heading happy hour, guys. I
know you are.
I got an hour's sleep last night, and I'm exhausted. I've been writing and talking, and anyway, right. Check out thebigspur.com.
Yeah,
love being on the show. Glad you guys all had a happy Thanksgiving, and man, hey, if it's a Tennessee bowl game, JC will be there.
Okay. All right, I'll have to check with my wife, and I might be there.
Yeah, I didn't ask permission from my boss either, so I better not just guarantee it.
I don't ask permission for the other 3 months to hit the road on Fridays and come back on Sundays. So this one, I'd honor that request. But
all right,
we'll see. All right, man. Later,
thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.
J-Rock pecan pie is a dandy. If you haven't had the bourbon pecan pie, you should try that. I'll have to. You can actually have it shipped to your house. It's literally it's dangerous, but it's good. It's got Buffalo Trace in it. How about that? All right, guys, we appreciate it. Power Hour brought to you by Wando Power Equipment is over. A couple of minutes late. Thanks to JC Sherbert, Darren Goldwater, and all of you. We hope you have a wacky and wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Welcome to December. Christmas is in the air. We'll keep an eye on everything out there. Didn't get to the baseball stuff. We'll try to get Corey McCartney in the next couple of days. Let's let him talk about it. He knows more than we do anyways. For Darren, I'm Jamie. This has been the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Go get your whiskey jam, boys and girls. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.